and 82 child protection investigations resulted in 345 initial child protection conferences. I think it's important that all members are aware that what is happening in this particular area. So I was absolutely delighted over the past year to see what the overview and scrutiny committee have been doing, chaired by Wendy Clemens, and consisting of members of all parties, which I think is important as well. And that particular scrutiny committee has now come up with what I consider an absolute excellent report. Now, I've managed to sort of skim through the report quite quickly. I need to go into it in a little bit more detail. But my initial reading of the report is that it could even have national importance, because children in care is one of the main, one of the big issues for the Care Coalition government. And the work that's been done in this particular authority by the elected members from all parties is an excellent piece of reporting. It's something that's gone on in children's services over the years, and I'm glad to see that tradition has continued with that. So thank you again to the Overview Scrutiny Committee, and I hope in the next sort of month or so that all members of council will be able to see that particular report. The third question was from Councillor Norbury, right? Yes, and Councillor Norbury, I think, was a question related to delivering services to children, families, and schools. Again, can I just say that's a question that a number of people have raised with me. Again, people who perhaps are not on that particular committee, but are interested in what's happening in schools, what's happening with families, and what's happening with children and that. And as you can see from the report, we now have come up with the new organisational arrangements in this particular area. I'm glad to say that the service that we have come up with, which is a universal service which will provide 4 statutory functions in respect of schools, including training services, initial transport, reporting, night and services. I think one or two councillors did raise with me the issue about how we sort of getting away from schools and perhaps looking more at social care and that. No, there's a big emphasis on what is happening in our schools as well as what is happening in social work and that. So it is delivering services to schools, children and families and that. I'm also delighted to say that over the last 12 months, when we actually looked at the service, we want to make it more efficient, more effective. And I'm delighted to say that last year we were able to make over 11 million savings. Now, that's, for me, the most important thing was ensuring that the quality of the services continued. The excellent services that we all had in regard to children and families and that. And I'd also like to report to Council that this year we're looking at continual savings and looking at the more effective service to children. And we are in line at present to make about 6.3 million savings of that. I want to be able to come back on a regular basis, so hopefully people will ask questions about exactly where we are going in this particular area, because it's important for all council members to be involved in what's happening in their schools, children and families. It's in my opinion, it's one of the most important areas that council should be involved in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tony. Before I go on, could the response that you sent to Council Clements be recorded to all members of Council?
I will certainly, yes.
Thank you very much. The Council is now invited to note the report. Is that agreed? Thank you. The next one is in relation to the portfolio on the economy. As we know, Pat's acting consent his apology. I will be asking the leader of the Council to respond to the questions. So are there any questions in relation to that? Councillor?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Clearly I'm disappointed that the Council Habit isn't here, but delighted that the Council may be able to answer my question. It's in relation to page 50 and it's concerning the local development framework. Legal Council, I was interested to read that outstanding issues relating to gypsies and travelling communities are ongoing. And hence made me think really that given that the dips in my ward are often frequented by the travelling community, I'd be more than interested to know what thoughts perhaps the administration may have on the development viability for that particular area, whether that be for travellers or, as Councillor Hackett is quoted in the local press as saying that it will be inevitable that it will be used as car parking area to facilitate clearly, as we're all used to see the growth in the number of people visiting Brighton. However, I would ask the leader of the council, if the administration do believe that it's inevitable that it's going to be used for car parking, would you perhaps enlighten me as to when we might receive a full report as to what progress they're making on that particular proposal?
Councillor Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The report burial held a comment on the £5 million regional growth funding awarded to Wirral to develop the offshore wind sector based in Canada.
Councillor,
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to leave the council comments on the significance of the announcement that Wirral has secured £5.5 million for local infrastructure funding to enhance the infrastructure of the Wirral Water Transfer Zone.
Yes, first of all to Councillor Rennie. Local development framework, my understanding is that we are in the process of producing a draft local development framework which will be out for consultation very soon. We need to agree it in the early part of next year. That's got to include a full needs assessment. I actually think, from my recollection, when I was cabinet member for regeneration, it's actually central government that are requiring local authorities to make sites available for gypsies and travellers. So, the pressure is coming from national government. I, at this stage, do not want to commit myself to saying that we will definitely develop a site at the dips for gypsies and travellers. I think what we need to do as part of the consultation exercise is to hear from all shades of opinion within the community. You've given one view, Leslie. I've heard Hackett's view. I think we need to use the consultation framework as a way of generating that debate. And clearly, the local development plan will not be finalised until the spring of next year. We need to take into account all views before this council makes a final decision. With regard to Jeanette's comment on regional growth funding, yeah, I mean, I think the 5 million that has been announced for the offshore wind sector is really welcome. Three party leaders were at Camel last Friday, and we saw the that was going on in the yard, particularly in terms of the opportunities around offshore wind. I have to say, I'm slightly frustrated that at the moment the actual manufacture of the turbines, etc., is being done elsewhere in Europe, in Germany, and then it's transported all the way to Camel for it to be finished off. There's no reason at all why those we were told can't actually do the manufacturing of those turbines, which would obviously bring in a lot more additional investment and jobs. And certainly I've made representations to Michael Fallon, who's the Minister within Business Innovation and Skills, to make sure that government are doing everything possible to enable Camel to bid for those contracts that enable them to actually manufacture the turbines in Wirral and at Camel. But there's no question about it that this will, it's already providing large amounts of employment in the yard. The actual regional growth funding is for a offshore wind supplier park, that will serve that industry. And I'm told that due diligence has just been completed. We are about to award the first contract to a business to go on to the supplier part. So that's great news for Wirral, great news for Wirral because it will mean again more jobs in that business. And I'm also really pleased that this sector, the offshore wind sector, will be a major focus of the International Business Festival, which will take place next summer, jointly hosted by Wirral and Liverpool, and the Camel and Mersey Maritime will be a key sector that will showcase the best of what is done in Birkenhead and Wirral in that sector. So that will really give us an opportunity to promote our work in that sector. So hugely important for the future of Wirral. And then finally, Stuart has asked about the local infrastructure funding for Wirral Waters. Yes, I was pleased that we had the announcement last month of 5.5 million from government to help prepare the infrastructure for the Wirral Water site. As we all know, the Wirral Water site is hugely important for the future and economic prospects of the borough. This money is going to be used to ensure that we've got first-class infrastructure in various parts of the Wirral Water site linked to residential, education and the approaches to the International Trade Centre in Beaufort Road and Portland Bridge Road. So it is welcome funding, and I just want to pay tribute actually to the team led by Ken Natalie for the fantastic work that they have done together with Peel and our colleagues in China, who are bringing much needed new investments into Wirral, and where we're expecting the International Trade Centre to start construction at the end of this year, beginning of next year, and that will generate some 2,000 jobs for Wirral. And then finally, we've also got a big opportunity around an automotive supplier park on the old Millville site. Again, there's significant interest been expressed by various big automotive companies to be part of that. And again, I think that will generate significant job opportunities. So in the teeth of what is still a very difficult economic climate for businesses in Wirral, I'm really pleased that these awards of money to Wirral really do give us hope that we've got an optimistic future for regeneration in Wirral. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Council is now invited to note the report. Is that agreed? We move on to the Cabinet portfolio for the environment and sustainability. Are there any questions to Councillor? Yes, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I begin as well by saying welcome it is the opportunity to question Cabinet members in this way, rather than bringing through the normal nonsense that we do when we're doing notices of motion. So that's one innovation that is, I think, an improvement for the Council. Can I ask the portfolio holder, on item 2, page 52, in terms of garden waste, reference is made to 35,000 households estimated will be signed up to the new service by year 2. That is why 75,000 households have not been signed up to the service. In the press statement issued by the Cabinet member to the local media, reference was made to the fact that residents not signed up to the service can deposit their garden waste in their green bin. Can the Cabinet member tell us how much garden waste can be deposited in the green bin before penalties are applied by the authority?
Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, while the government continues to show the resolve to make the difficult decisions necessary to ensure long-term economic stability and welfare reform of the NHS, challenges and quite frankly, the Labour Party did not have the backbone to tackle during 13 years of government. The local Labour Party...
Can I ask everybody to be quiet, and could you please ask the question?
I'll cut to the chase, Mr. Mayor. I'm just mainly trying to say it, so...
Ask the question. We still have a lot to deal with on the agenda.
I've got 2 minutes, am I correct, Mr. Mayor? I'll be done within the 2 minutes. The local Labour Party, Mr. Mayor, have now shown the same cowardice reviewing decision with regard to bin tax.
Please,
They're denying local residents their democratic right to a referendum on council tax increase by deliberately avoiding going over the threshold, instead imposing another of the latest favourite, the stealth tax. Can the leader of the council or the cabinet member confirm that in future their decisions to increase taxes on hard-working residents will be more open and transparent than the administration's current approach?
Councillor Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question goes to
Could I have some quiet dissent, please, because I want to listen to the question. Thank you. Please carry on.
Thank you. Can the Cabinet Member for Environment tell Council whether or not residents make use of green bins to dispose of garden waste?
Councillor Jim Crouch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know from the report that we've reached the target of 30,000 which we were aiming for, but given the concerns in the press about fly tipping, I'd like to know, has there been any increase in garden waste fly tipping throughout the Thanks.
Councillor Kenny, would you like to answer those questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take them in the order that you put to me. First of all, Councillor Lewis, yes, it still is our intention and hope that by year 2, 35,000 people will have subscribed. Obviously, that is not a majority, but bearing in mind that our target for the first year was to achieve 30,000, which would mean that the whole scheme would be self-financing. I'm very pleased to report that we've already exceeded the target, so we're already going to save over £1 million into the funds, which was the original objective. Yes, and I think two different people have asked the same question. Can you put garden waste into the green bin? The answer to that is yes, in small amounts. What we don't want is people filling the green bin with garden waste and then finding that there's a problem, that the garden waste is being left to the side of the bin or floating down in black bin liners, etc. So the answer is if people have small amounts of garden waste, they can put them in the green bin. You've also raised a question about penalties. We have not discussed at all about any question about anybody being penalised for putting garden waste into the green bin. But obviously, like any other policy within this council, the whole subject is going to be subject to review in the future. If we found, for example, that people were literally filling the green bin with garden waste, then obviously we'd have to look at that situation again. But at the moment, there is no question about any Wirral resident being penalised for putting garden waste in the green bin. On the second question, Mr. Mayor, from Councillor Cox, he talks about the imposition of the garden tax. Well, I do find it a little bit rich from somebody, from a member of a party whose government has forced this council to save a third of our budget over 3 years. We've got to save £109 million over 3 years, and the situation's been made a lot worse by the comprehensive spending review at the end of June. So obviously this council has had to make many difficult decisions. The imposition of a charge for garden waste is but one of a number of very difficult decisions that we've had to make. But I think it's a bit rich from somebody from that side of the room to complain about this being imposed. And also, Mr. Mayor, I think I'm right in saying, and I'm open for correction, I think I'm right in saying the Conservative group at the time did not oppose that when it was put forward in the budget. So it's a bit rich now to come back later to complain about an item in the budget that you did not complain about in a situation where we had to make, as I say, very difficult decisions because of the situation this government has placed us into. So we don't see it as a tax in that respect. You also said we should be transparent and open, and you spoke about democracy. Well, the way the scheme works, quite simply, every individual who's got a brown bin now has got the right to opt in or to opt out of the scheme. Nobody is being forced to pay for their garden waste to be collected. If somebody chooses, for whatever reason, that they don't want to pay the amount to have their brown bin collected, you don't have to. And by the way, a number of people have referred tonight, including when the petitions were handed in earlier, to the figure of £35 a year. In fact, the vast majority, over 80% of Wirral residents who've opted into the scheme have done it online, where the cost is £30 a year. And many people I've spoken to, in the real light of the day, have said, well, to be honest, to have somebody coming along every 2 weeks to collect my brown bin, take it away, empty it and bring it back for a figure of £30 a year is not bad when you look at the cost of other issues in the world today. So we think it's a reasonable charge, and I think that's why you didn't oppose it when it went through the budget. On Councillor Brightmore's question, Mr Mayor, I think I've already answered it. Yes, people can put small amounts of garden waste into the green bin. And on the final question by Councillor Crabtree, yes, a lot of people said, oh, fly tipping is going to increase because people are just going to dump the rubbish. At the moment, we're evaluating figures, we're looking at all the figures that are coming in from throughout the Wirral. Our hope is that people will not resort to fly tipping, because first of all, we think the scheme is reasonably priced. We're also encouraging more and more people to go down the road of home composting, and I would have thought every councillor in this chamber would want to encourage all residents to go down the road of home composting for all sorts of reasons. So it's on that basis, it's all subject to review. We'll be looking at further figures later on, but at the moment we cannot see any increase in fly tipping as part of this initiative. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. And now I invite the Council to note the report. Is that agreed? Thank you. Moving on to the Cabinet portfolio for governance and improvement. On there, any questions to Councillor? Okay, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 3, page 54, in the portfolio holder, constitutional reform. A couple of weeks ago, Mr Mayor, I attended an event when a member of this authority introduced himself as an assistant cabinet member. Can the portfolio holder tell us which members of this authority have been appointed as assistant cabinet members and to which portfolios?
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A question on the transformational projects. I was wondering if the Cabinet thought there might be some conflict between Project 3, neighbourhood working, and its aspiration for local plans to deliver effective local services, and Project 6, strategic commissioning, and its desire to adopt a corporate or central approach to commissioning. So where the local government information unit helpfully defines in its June magazine commissioning as a process of designing services and choosing delivery agents. It goes on to describe a process where the needs of a population are assessed, service priorities and goals are set, and services are secured and designed to meet those needs. And finally, it says different communities will need different models of service provision. What guarantees can the Cabinet give to reassure me that at least some aspects of commissioning of services will actually lie with constituency committees rather than strategically central?
Councillor Litton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to ask the Cabinet member, please advise Council what officer posts are available to assist persons to become committees.
Councillor Bill Davis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is, how are the performance reports and the KPIs different to what's previously been produced in the past?
Thank you. Councillor
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I do firstly with Councillor Lewis's question about the assistant portfolio holders. They are not within the Constitution, they are purely posts that we in the Labour group have adopted as a potential development opportunity for our members. They don't have any formal position in the Constitution, and so there's no they're just not included in the Constitution. It's something that we as a group have done to assist our members to become more engaged and to get involved in areas where they have particular interest in. So I hope that responds to that. Councillor Kelly, I think on the issue about the transformation projects, the transformation projects have been created in response to the Local Improvement Board and to modernise Wirral's approach to doing business. And with regard to commissioning, I think, yes, clearly what we want to do is to reduce duplication, bureaucracy, waste and economies of scale. But what we also want to do is to ensure that commissioning can be done at the most local level within the organisation. But strategic commissioning, which is what we're doing here, is the overall approach, and it can be done on different levels. And neighbourhood working is one element of that. And we would anticipate that when the new constituency committees are up and running, that over a period of time, that commissioning could and will be devolved to them as more and more funding is devolved to them. As you know, we're starting with £50,000 to each constituency committee, but there will be an opportunity as we go forward and as more resources are devolved for hopefully commissioning to be done at a local level. So I hope that answers that. Councillor Whittingham, you've asked me about what officer support is available to assist policy and performance committees. We've had a very successful start, I want to say, to meetings of the policy and performance committees. And I think we recognise that it's really important that we do give support to them. And we're very keen to ensure that work is progressed in a timely and efficient way. Therefore, a scrutiny support team has been set up, which is based within the policy unit, and that will provide support for reviews, including notes of working group meetings, coordination of witnesses, where the committee decide they want to inform witnesses, and it will project manage reviews on behalf of the committee. It will also ensure that chairs and members are kept informed of relevant scrutiny guidance and undertake research on any policy reviews and general communication purposes. And of course, the purpose of that unit will be to work with members to draft reports for policy and performance committee reviews. And I understand that a briefing pack has been provided to all committee members setting out the support arrangements and relevant contact details. So I hope that responds to that. Yes. Councillor Davis asked about the key performance indicators and the performance management framework and how they would be different from everything that we've currently got. Well, I think what I want to say first and foremost, and I said this at Cabinet on Thursday evening, is that for the first time, I believe, across the piece, we will have a corporate performance management framework that is consistent and applied across every directorate. It will be corporately owned and signed off by the strategic directors, and there will be a consistent methodology applied in reviewing how those indicators and targets are being met, and we'll be taking exception reports on that. In terms of monitoring and managing that, it will be done on a monthly cycle to identify and address any performance, underperformance, and in order that is done early. And it will be able then to target key priorities identified by a strategic director, and it will make heads of service accountable for their performance. Underperformance will be constructively challenged and focused on in terms of improvement and delivery, and an integrated approach will be taken with colleagues from finance, risk, governance and audit. So in other words, Mr Mayor, Mr Mayor, in response to your question, what I'm particularly pleased about is this is getting out of the silos and taking the corporate approach to how we manage performance across the council. That's answers your question. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. Council is now invited to note the report. Is that agreed? We move on to the cabinet